Greetings, you beautiful humans. This is your friendly neighborhood life coach, Glenn Klein, guiding you through the story of a t-shirt quilt. On today's episode, we're going to talk about IDAJO, or as Alex Irv said, what's IDAJO? IDAJO is the name of my grandparents' lake house in northern Wisconsin that they built in. You okay, Al?
Yeah.
Okay. Although it would make news if you choked and died right now. Like I could flip over the camera. We could make a memory. That's what this is all about, you guys. Making memories, having fun, laughing. Laughing releases endorphins. Endorphins helps deal with stress. Dealing with stress properly, longer life, happier life, healthier life. My cousin Stuart Klein, his dad took over IDAJO when Joe Klein, our grandfather, passed away, and Harold Klein, my uncle, my dad's third brother, my dad's the baby, he took over IDAJO. Ida's my grandmother, Joe is our grandfather, and Stuart always wanted to have the house, and then it was just life got busy and somebody else purchased the house, but he has IDAJO on the same lake in Phelps, Wisconsin, on Long Lake. He's got an IDAJO, and Stuart always says, happy wife, happy life. Hard to argue with that. How you get there, that's for another session. I'll be happy to talk to you at klein.coach. You can email me there at grow@coachklein.com or call me. I'll tell you how do you make your wife happy if it's possible. Or as Benjamin Franklin once said, we have a republic if we can keep it. You have a happy marriage if you can keep it. It takes two to tango, and there's all kinds of complications as to why my grandparents, Ida Joe, stayed married for over 50 years, why my parents have, and why Stuart and his beautiful wife Susan have, and Dawn and I didn't. People say, you and Dawn, you love each other, you get along so well, and you got all these things, the family traditions, like the KFL. Why aren't you guys married? And I say, because we shouldn't be. I'm happy to share with these things personally with you. Dawn is the most incredible person I ever met. I was fortunate enough to marry her and have kids with her. But that is a whole nother session in and of itself. We're talking about IDAJO and the KFL. IDAJO was, first of all, as I said earlier, it's all about genetics. My grandparents, could they give a house and not have a name on it? They named it IDAJO. Ida after my grandmother, our grandmother, Joe after our grandfather. Dawn and I named our firstborn Joe Klein after my grandfather. Joseph J. Klein was his name. J didn't have a meaning, a name to it. It was like Harry S. Truman. It just was an initial. Well, our Joseph J. Klein has Jens Olson. And when Dawn and I got married, we had just bought Camp Menominee, which we were 23 years old when we bought this camp. It was absolutely unheard of. And Dawn was kind of a women's libber, and she was cool. She's like, I understand for business why we should probably have the same last name, but I want you to take my maiden name as your middle name. And I was like, cool. So I became Glenn Olson Klein. She was Dawn Olson Klein, and all of our kids have, for example, it's Joseph Jens Olson Klein, Jacob Ronald Olson Klein after Dawn's dad, Ron Olson. Judah Harold Olson Klein, Harold, after my papa, which we're going to talk about my papa when we talk about the Stardust t-shirt up here. And then we have Hannah Joy Olson Klein, Joylicious, she's the joy of our lives. Isaac Joel Olson Klein and Jessica Grace Olson Klein, they all have Olson in their name. So IDAJO, the original IDAJO in Phelps, Dawn got to go to. Dawn got to meet the original Joe Klein. Not Ida, unfortunately my grandmother passed away. And so we're gonna go overtime on this one because there's so much about this particular t-shirt. I've got it on purpose. One year, we do the KFL shirts, a different one. Somebody suggested we should do tie-dye. And I scoured the internet for the softest, most wonderful tie-dye. Now here's something I probably knew but didn't remember. Every tie-dye shirt is unique, because they do each shirt differently. So this IDAJO tie-dye is different color than this one. Just like we're all the same, we're all equal spiritually, we're all perfect and righteous, but we're also unique. Do you realize that nobody has the same fingerprints as you in the history of the planet? And yet we're so close genetically. Even science says now that we came from an original couple somewhere where the Jewish scriptures describes as the Garden of Eden. That, again, is a long, lengthy discussion. I'm happy to have this discussion with you guys anytime. Just hit me up at klein.coach. But in the meantime, we buy Camp Menominee in 1983. Our first summer is 84. In 1985, our cook, Doris Walkowski, comes to work, and she says, Charlie Russell's selling his house across the street. And it's literally across the road from the summer camp. And so we go over there and we move from Chicago, Illinois, the suburban city life, to the rural, most northern part of Wisconsin. And we name our little house on Dam Lake, which is on the Sugar Camp chain of lakes, where Camp Menominee's on Sand Lake. We name it IDAJO. And our kids love it. And the reason the KFL shirt said IDAJO this particular year was because Dawn took charge and refurbished IDAJO so that for another generation. It's a beautiful location, and it's also available for Airbnb. And that was sort of the impetus behind that. And so in honor of her hard work and the house and just what it all represents, we put IDAJO on that year's KFL shirts. Making memories, baby. Let's go. We'll do it again all next time. Stay logged on. Give me a buzz, 813-363-9545, if there's anything I can do for you. And let me take a little serious turn here. We talked about the molestation that I experienced at camp, and I can tell you the serious depression that came from that, or just the clinical depression that I suffer from. If you know of anybody, if you're suffering from suicidal ideation, call somebody. Call me, call the suicide hotlines, call somebody, anybody, before you do something that can't be undone. 813-363-9545 is my cell number. One thing I promise you, and I guarantee you will get zero judgment from this guy, because I've been there, and there's no moral implication there at all. It's just a question of, can we get our brains to function on a more effective level? It's not about the money we make, the prestige we have, the power we have. If that was true, guys like Anthony Bourdain and Robin Williams wouldn't have killed themselves, would they have? And so that's why we're human beings and not human doings. There's a lot about that on my blog at Coach's Corner at klein.coach. I love you, and let me hear from you, and just continue watching as we continue with the story of a t-shirt quilt.